today's episode of Koi Cubed. I am very excited to be joining you today. This is likely our last Friday show for a little while. We're going back to one Koi Cubed a week, which is going to be on Tuesdays like normal, but I have an announcement next week that'll make all that make sense. That'll be a new show coming at you. Not here. You'll see. So I'll be announcing that next week, and we're going back down to once a week on Tuesdays, and today's going to be a slightly shorter show because we are having a comic books and craft beer tonight, talking about Saga. We're going to be doing volume 2. We're going to be doing the second hardcover book tonight. So tonight at 7:15, 7:30, me and Jenny Newman are going to be trying out some new beers. We don't have any more Tavour beers, so we went out and Jenny grabbed 2 random beer from the recommendations you guys have said, like stylistically and such. So she's going to be bringing over some beer and then probably a little more whiskey. It's going to be fun. So tonight at 7:15, 7:30 thereabouts, expect another comic books and craft beer, and that's why today's show might be a little short, and also admittedly there's not a lot of news. So let's kick it off. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about what our most recent Catwoman has to say about our future Catwoman. It's very sweet. It's a lovely quote. We're going to talk about Mank getting its first reviews in. We're going to be talking about the Animorphs movie, which I'm very excited about. We'll see if anybody else is. We're going to be talking about The Killing of Two Lovers. We got a bevy of little morsels to dive into. So let's kick it off first with saying, hello, Mr. Sean King. Welcome to the live chat. I said your name because you're a big fan and I appreciate you, and those are all the specifics that were at the top of the show. So, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Ian Roth, I hope there's a variety of Dragon's Milk. I may have to run to the store for this. I have not yet found anything other than the standard Dragon's Milk, and it took me a while to find the standard Dragon's Milk. LA. Also keep in mind I'm walking everywhere, so I'm only going in stores within a 5 to 6 mile radius because carrying beer more than 6 miles usually skunks. So it's a very contained situation from where I'm at. Anyway, let's get into the news. Tonight we'll talk beer and we'll talk comic books. Firstly, Mandalorian Season 2. Man, oh Mandalorian, do I love this show. I gotta admit, Star Wars had started to lose me between the fans and the seeming lack of cohesion and the not feeling like the magic of what it used to feel like in the theater. There's something really special about the feeling of a Star Wars event that I hadn't felt in a little bit, and The Mandalorian got that back. Every single week on Disney Plus Season 1, I was fully invested. Every single week, Season 1, I was enamored with the world expanding the way they were doing it. It didn't feel like they were just following the Skywalkers or going with this one family. And a lot of the magic of Star Wars for me is that the idea of underdogs, like anyone can be special, anyone can fight the Empire, anyone in this universe can be more than what they came from. And then the last movie decided that wasn't the case. So I'm really enjoying The Mandalorian, feeling like all these great expansive side missions. Every episode's like a one-off side mission with characters that are relatively new, that feel authentic to the world, that also feels like the heart of the old Star Wars. It feels like the magic is there. It feels like the budget is allowing for more ingenuity. There's enough callbacks that you're like, hell yeah, Star Wars, but not so many that you're like, are they coloring by numbers? Why are we here? And this episode was very callbacky, but all of the callbacks felt really magical. All of the callbacks felt very honest and endearing, and certain sound bites make you remember your moments in childhood. Certain visuals make you go like, oh, they get it. This is why I'm here. This episode was not just Olyphantastic. It was also spoilers for the end of the episode. Spoiler, spoiler. Spoiler, spoiler. Spoiler, spoiler. Had the return of Boba Fett. Now, Boba Fett is obviously the most legendary of the Mandalorians. The actor that played Boba Fett is the last shot of the first episode of the season. So is Season 2 going to be Boba Fett based? I don't know. Is Season 2 going to at least go further with Boba Fett? Probably. You don't get that actor back for one shot and have the audience going, ugh. I am so excited that we've got Boba Fett teased in The Mandalorian. I'm so excited by the Sarlacc pit. I love the whole dragon setup. I love the use of the like, there were so many things that felt like Star Wars. And then that last moment felt like we were expanding the universe, because we all assumed he died at Return of the Jedi. Obviously, you don't bring back Boba halfway. This is really, really rad. Also, in that last sentence, I just realized every time I've said Boba Tea, I've thought of Boba Fett, and now it all ties together. They need to cross over. How is there not a Boba Fett tea? Disney, you market everything else. Make a Boba tea. for Boba Fett. Just make the cup like the Boba armor, like Boba Fett's armor, Boba tea. Anyway, I love seeing Olyphant in a very Olyphantastic role where he always plays like a deputy or a sheriff, and in this case he plays a space sheriff. I love the use of the armor. I love the world building with these characters. There's so much that really works about this universe. It also really goes to show that if you let your audience build out, you can have more inventive stories. I don't care about the Skywalkers anymore. It hurts me to say that. I love that we've gotten this old Western take on Star Wars that's arguably more inventive while being more true to Star Wars than anything I've seen in a long time. This show is spectacular. Episode 1 of Season 2 is spectacular. The budget is spicy. They gave it a little bit more money. The use of the Void is incredible. I'm really optimistic about all the MCU shows because of how good The Mandalorian is. They're letting the creators make really cool shit. I also love the score. I forget how to pronounce his name. The guy that works with Donald Glover all the time with Childish Gambino, one of the royalty family in Donald's friend group, is the guy that does the score for The Mandalorian, and it's so impressive, and it's so inventive, and it's so crazy. I love this show, top to bottom. Sound design, visual design, character design, acting, directing, everything about it's my cup of tea. Thank you, The Mandalorian, for keeping as consistent as Season 1. Season 2 looks like it's going to be even better than Season 1. I am all about it. That was a pie chart. Not a pie chart. That is a graph of excitement, by the way. This is how excited I am for Season 2. Give me more. All in. And when theaters are reopened, I hope someone's playing The Mandalorian. I'd love to see this at the El Cap or something. I saw the pilot at like Emmy press screening, like a TV Academy screening. I got to see the expanse of what The Mandalorian could be in the big screen, and it was so very rad. Sal, thank you. Sal Scalici? Scalici, is that your name? Sal? Thank you, Scal. Ludwig Göransson, a goddamn genius. Ludwig Göransson is insane. I am a big fan. Cannot wait. We will see what other stuff that guy makes, because he's an audio genius. And the chat is agreeing they're really enjoying The Mandalorian Season 2. And Jon Favreau's directing is always top-notch. Very excited. And people are also talking about Dragon's Milk, which ties very loosely into this episode because, Dragon's Milk. Very excited. Oh, yes. All right, moving on from The Mandalorian. High praise. Cannot give it higher praise. Star Wars fans are often asking me what I think of Star Wars. Mandalorian feels like a very safe place for me to finally say, like, this Star Wars. So Fridays are now back to being at least something. Good golly Miss Molly, am I excited for Fridays. It's TGIF like our childhoods, coming back with The Mandalorian. Hype. All right, moving on from Mando. I can't wait for next week. Let's get into the Animorphs. Now, this is not something I can really dive into very long because it's just one little announcement, but I'm a big Animorphs fan. I learned more about animals and about the ethics of warfare from that children's book than I learned in any formal education. Public school failed me, but I remember that Tobias, when stuck as a red-tailed hawk, rode those thermals, and when you see a hawk riding a thermal, he's either just coasting around looking for food, or he's just riding around. It could be asleep, just riding I love that I learned about thermals and red-tailed hawks from Animorphs, and I love those books. Really inspired me to look at the ethics of not just believing the news. The books are great. There's 54 of them, something like that, and they're making a movie. There was also a show from 98 to 2000. Sean Ashmore was in it, who played Iceman, who's also in The Boys, who was Lamplighter. The books are spectacular. I remember being so bummed when Tobias was stuck as a red-tailed hawk. I remember being like, Jake's the hero, but Tobias is the hero. The books are great. Marco is fantastic. All of the books. Rachel, I think, was one of the girls' names. There's 5 of them. I'm forgetting a name. Rachel, Tobias, Jake, Marco. Axel was the awesome alien friend, and the Yeerks and the Hork-Bajors. Anyway, Animorphs are awesome. They're making a movie. I'm very hopeful with this movie, or I was. Recently, the writers left. K.A. Applegate was the pseudonym. The writer duo went under. Christina Applegate is the woman that wrote The Lion's Share, but her husband also worked on the books, so they both wrote under K.A. Applegate, and I hope that they can resolve this, but they have officially left the production of the movie, so creative differences is what they're citing. We'll see. Either way, I'm very excited for the series or movie or whatever they do. I'm hoping K.A. Applegate can redeem J.K. Rowling as childhood author hero that doesn't turn out to be problematic. But that said, I'm very excited for the Animorphs. And Cassie, that is the other name I forgot. Thank you. Ian, Jake, Rachel, Marco, Cassie, Tobias, Axel, Visser 3. Dude, I remembered 4 without cheating, so I'm proud. I'm gonna hold on to my 4. All right, Songbird. Songbird is a new Michael Bay produced film that looks very ill-timed, that looks borderline like it's sensationalizing death. I feel like, you know, there's exploitation cinema is very common. Exploitation cinema has merit. This one feels like it's very short-sighted, and the actors in it are some of my favorite actors. I never miss a Bradley Whitford movie. I was excited to check this out, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of frontline workers and hospital workers dying and getting sick because of this virus, and it just seems kind of in poor taste to make the government that's helping the people survive the boogeyman that's stopping them. Like, I'm not happy with our current government, but the 2023 government dictatorship quality of this feels just inappropriate for where we're going. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm usually more but since this story hasn't ended yet, like since we haven't beaten the virus, it kind of feels like you're making a horror movie while living in a horror movie, but Jason's right behind you. It kind of feels like we're in the terror, so making a movie about it not ending in the next 4 years feels like shit. But I don't know. That's just my take. The trailer definitely made me like, don't like that. Don't like that. Did a whole lot of those moments. And not in the fun, like, horror way. Not like I just watched Us for the first time, and Us definitely made me like, don't like that. But it was fun because that is an intelligent commentary on horrible things that are happening, done with tact. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of tact in this. I feel like there's a good parallel there. Us is trying to solve some problems. I feel like Songbird is leaning into them, but that's just my take. Check out the trailer, decide for yourself. I feel like it's in poor taste, and I love a lot of the team behind it, especially the actors. But speaking of liking a team behind a movie, Mank is being screened for certain press. Mank has got its first round of embargoes up for reviews. Mank is the new David Fincher love letter to Hollywood itself about the making of Citizen Kane. And a love letter is probably too strong. The man loves Hollywood. But, you know, there's a messy history in that era of Hollywood, as with any era of Hollywood, and it's telling some of those stories. We've got Gary Oldman playing he's the guy that wrote or co-wrote Citizen Kane. The cast is spectacular, and the movie is made to look and feel like it was made in the time. So Mank is intentionally gonna sound like a movie from the time. It's gonna look like a movie from the time. All this is very exciting. I'm so in for Mank. It is a Netflix movie. It's got quite the budget. It's a movie that David Fincher tried to get made forever and didn't think would happen. But, you know, lo and behold, Netflix started making everything. So the movie sat on a shelf for a very long time, and then Netflix got it made, and now with us stuck in quarantine, it's the best possible time to release a Netflix movie. So I think it's going to do very well. It's being released in award season contention, so I'm very excited about that. But you know, you can never tell from a trailer. I liked the first footage more than the trailer, the cut of the trailer, but I don't know this era of Hollywood. I don't watch a lot of movies from this era. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my cup of tea, but I'd like to see what Fincher does with it. So maybe I will understand that world in that time. Maybe it'll bring me into that era of cinema. I'm very excited. Either way, I've never seen a Fincher movie I didn't like, except Alien 3 was kind of rough. But since Alien 3, Fincher is pretty much universally my shit, so I'm excited. Speaking of award season movies and movies that are probably going to be a bit difficult to get through because it looks rough, man, I'm excited as hell for The Killing of Two Lovers. I am a big The Killing of Two Lovers fan. I haven't seen it yet. I'm a big Clayne Crawford fan, and this was what he did immediately after leaving Lethal Weapon. I'm a huge Lethal Weapon series fan, and the fact that they were able to make a television series out of a film series actually be good while completely changing it to the times and completely changing it to long-form network television. I watch very little network TV, and there was 2 years that I watched 2 network shows. This Is Us and Lethal Weapon. It was jarring. I got to do a set visit for season 2 of Lethal Weapon. I got to meet all the cast and crew. They were incredible people. Clayne Crawford is a genius. I'm a huge fan of his work, and this looks like it's him getting to act his eyeballs out in a very intimate, very personal movie, what movies can be when the creative freedom is full, and it looks like art. I'm so excited. It's getting a February release. Neon just picked it up. Clayne Crawford is someone who I will see anything he does. he's an inspiration. The guy's a genius. So I'm really excited for this. I gave up on Lethal Weapon when they put Sean William Scott in. That wasn't my show, and it's a real shame how that all went down. But this is art he got to make in lieu of Lethal Weapon that I'm very excited to check out. And it couldn't be more different. It looks very intense. It looks very harrowing. It looks like my cup of tea, but in a very different direction. So check out The Killing of Two Lovers. It is February 20-something from Neon, and I am all sorts of in, so we will see what happens with that. In a bit of like news, which is meant to be a rapid fire sound that didn't translate. In a bunch of just rapid fire news, Matthew McConaughey, we found out this week, wanted to play the Hulk. He actually lobbied for it. He reached out to Marvel to play the Hulk. Marvel did not reciprocate. It wasn't going to be, but he did talk about it on Happy, Sad, Confused, which is Josh Horowitz's channel and show and podcast. Josh Horowitz is a great journalist. Check out his stuff. Happy, Sad, Confused is an ongoing show where he sits down with these incredible creators and he asks real questions, and there's no gimmicks, and I appreciate Josh Horowitz's journalism. So check out the interview with Matt McConaughey. It's fantastic, and it was around the time of leading into perfect timing in leading into Ed Norton's Hulk. So going into the Incredible Hulk era, he reached out to play the Hulk for them in general. So he was a fan of the show. He was a fan of the character growing up. He read the comics as a kid. So we could have had a very different Hulk. I understand why Marvel wanted someone nerdier. I think Ed Norton was a fantastic Hulk that just wanted to control a direction a certain way. I really like the walkabout and psychedelic aspects of his Hulk that he described. If you watch any Ed Norton interviews, the way they wanted to take Hulk in 2 and 3 was going to be a very different thing. But I understand why they needed the Mark Ruffalo Hulk to fold into the MCU and the Avengers, because the Mark Ruffalo Hulk's a very different character, and Mark Ruffalo, the actor, is very different. And I could also see why you wouldn't want someone as handsome as McConaughey, with your Tony Stark and your, Cap and everything else. It would look like, there's this, it would look like Zoolander. Like, look at these models. Not that Mark Ruffalo is not attractive, but he's not the McConaughey kind of attractive, which could look like, why male models? So that never came to pass, but it is cool to hear that McConaughey is a big enough Hulk fan that he reached out, and I think it's going to be really, really cool to see what comic fans we find out. We're comic fans since childhood as comic gets more and more popular. Makes me happy as a comic fan. And a bit of other comic news. This isn't news that is usually meaningful, but that was a very light news week, but it is very sweet to hear actors speak sweet of each other. I did not see a lot of sensationalizing like Anne Hathaway talks crap about Catwoman, which made me happy, but the quote that came out this week was very endearing, and Anne Hathaway is doing press for The Witches, and of course Catwoman came up because, like with any legacy character, you want to know what the last Catwoman thought of the new Catwoman. So she said, quote, she was asked if she had any advice to give Zoe Kravitz, and she said, quote, "You saw the picture of her coming down those stairs, right? Yeah, she doesn't need any advice. If I end quote, next quote, if I had any advice, it would be literally don't listen to anybody, because I think the only way to play that role is to give your version of it. All of us had different directors, and all of our interpretations were specific to the films that they were in. Kind of like my Grand High Witch is specific to Bob Zemeckis, and Angelica Houston is specific to Nicholas Rogues, and that's great. And all of the Jokers were specific to each director they have, and so I don't think you can get too bogged down with the comparison. And especially when you're not the one doing it, because your job is to give yours. I'm so excited to see what she does with it. I thought she was a perfect choice. I completely agree with everything she has to say. I think she doesn't need any advice because she's going to kill it, and every footage we've seen is sensational. I think that Anne Hathaway is underappreciated as Catwoman. I thought her Catwoman in Nolan's film was fantastic. I think Annie gets a lot of crap in general that she doesn't deserve. I think she's very, very talented, and I think people see that, but they also give her crap for whatever reason. So her saying this about Zoe Kravitz is very sweet. I'm very much excited for another take on Catwoman. I think it's going to be like nothing we've seen before. I don't think it'll be like Michelle Pfeiffer's. I don't think it'll be like Anne Hathaway's. I think it's going to be a new, fantastic Catwoman. And I never talk about the TV show Catwoman or the TV show adaptations because I'm more of a movie guy. So no disrespect to people that liked Yzma as Catwoman. I forget her name right now. I know she played Catwoman and Yzma, and she's fantastic, but my brain doesn't go there. I'm more of a cinema guy. So I'm very excited for a new take, and I love that we get all of these actors just praising their next follow-up. Like, I love that Bale is excited for Pattinson. I think that's the way it should be. Like, these are legacy characters. It's not like people get mad when Bond changes. I think it's a really cool opportunity. I know Hugh Jackman's already excited for the next Wolverine. That sort of thing is rad. Eartha Kitt, thank you very much. Apologies for calling her Yzma. To me, Emperor's New Groove is the best modern Disney movie of all time. That is the bar that is set, and she is a fantastic Yzma, as well as a Catwoman. That is actually all of the news this week, or since Tuesday. That is all the news in the last 3 days that I personally was invested in, but I thought it was a really interesting Mandalorian, so I wanted to jump on this Friday show. Again, at 7 o'clock, we're going to be doing comic books and craft beer, but before we do that, I'm going to give you some comic book reviews from this week's show, this week's poll. On Tuesday, I recommended about 25 comic books. My favorite 9 are as follows. If you guys are patrons, there is an entire tier about me reviewing each and every comic book, and I give it a letter grade, A, B, C, A-, A+, A, whatever, all the way to F. And those are up right now. I just posted on my Patreon. So just my top 9 are as follows. And this was a really iffy week. Some were less quality, but Sex Criminals was one of the best issues of comics I've ever read. So Batgirl number 50, a fantastic conclusion to the Batgirl series, has a lot going on. I have not been keeping up with Batgirl, and the fact that I haven't and still enjoyed this issue is a testament to how good it is. Batman the Three Jokers number 3, the art in this book is second to none. The story is very good. I thought it was a fantastic way to tell the end of that story. I was worried about the Three Jokers, especially its conclusion. Fantastic number 3. Department of Truth number 2 continues its rise of glory. Issue 1 wowed me. Issue 2 did not disappoint. I love this new title. James Tynion can do no wrong. Department of Truth, very good shit. Art also horrifying. There's stuff in this that I was like, oh, it's so good. John Constantine Hellblazer, also horrifying. This one's more politically charged. This one talks about a lot of problems we're facing in the States, but it's obviously from the perspective of England, because John Constantine. Hellblazer is a fantastic series. This is the second to last issue. I think Simon Spurrier wrote one of the best Hellblazers of all time. I'm very, very happy with this run. Check out issue 11. Runaways, number 32. Runaways is back after a long hiatus due to COVID and everything else. I am very, very in for Runaways 32. It was a lot of fun. I'm excited to see where this story goes. Sex Criminals 69. Sex Criminals is one of my favorite indies of all time. Sex Criminals is a book that if you are into... if you're an adult and you think that we're a prudish country because we were founded by Puritans, then it's a really good book. If you are uncomfortable with sexual content, it might not be for you, but it is very funny. It is very eye-opening. It is very, it's a relief to read something that's so open about sex. It is a very solid book, and it's drawn by Chip Zdarsky, so there's lots of funny little visual hints in there. Written by Matt Fraction, so you know that team. Come on. It's glorious if it's your cup of tea. Strange Academy number 4 continues this Doctor Strange meets X-Men storyline that's going on. Magic is shepherding a bunch of kids through magic school, as well as Doctor Strange being kind of the Dumbledore. It's a really fun time, and it's beautifully drawn by Carlos Ramos, written by the usual artist, Scotty Young. It's a fun time. Suicide Squad number 10, the near conclusion of Tom Taylor's Suicide Squad run, continues to be impressive. And Wonder Woman number 765. 765 is... it sounds like a big number, but it's only 6 issues into this run, so you're not too far behind if you want to pick up starting at 759 was the first of this new run, and I'm really digging this Wonder Woman arc. So those are my polls for this week. If any of those are your cup of tea, get down to your comic store and pick them up. Highly recommend any of those. I'm currently watching Kingdom Season 2. I'm going to start it right now. I'm going to work out in before comic books and craft beer so I can earn some of those calories. I watch Kingdom and I either bike or I lift weights while I'm watching Kingdom. Then I get to my comic books and craft beer. I'm currently about to watch Season 2, Episode 1. Kingdom, so fucking good. I'm also currently watching Community Season 5. Watched the first episode 2 days ago. I have not gotten further, but I know it's only a 13-episode season. I'm trying to catch up on Community so I can watch the reunion. I'm going to finish Community before the end of the year. I promise, Community fans, I will. I'm also watching The Great. I've only watched the first episode, but I was very wowed. It's coming after Community. And Marvel's Avengers, what I'm playing. I haven't touched it in 3 weeks, but I'm very excited to get back to it. Streaming recommendations I gave on Tuesday, so if you want to know which things I recommend you watch on streaming in November, they are quickly as follows. On Netflix, starting on the 1st, Boys in the Hood, Casper, Easy A, Platoon, The Impossible, and The Indian in the Cupboard are all coming to Netflix. Over on Hulu, they're getting Born 1 through 3 on the 1st. Also, Dave Chappelle Show. The fucking Chappelle Show is coming to Netflix on the 1st. Chappelle Show was just announced today. It was not in my last week rundown, and that's because I didn't hear that it was coming. Chappelle Show on the 1st, y'all. I'm losing my mind. I love Chappelle Show. It's going to be on Netflix. I got my precious Chappelle Show back. I had them all on DVD, and a friend of mine borrowed them, and they never made it back. So, Chappelle Show, dropping on the 1st. Over on Amazon, Dead Poets Society, Platoon, Step Up, Expendables 1 through 3, W, Wall Street, and You Got Served are my recommendations for the first. On Disney, The Mandalorian Season 2, we talked about at the top, but obviously that's my big run for November. HBO Max is getting Dead Man Walking, High Fidelity, Mystic River, and a movie I've never seen but should, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon #1. I am a huge Lethal Weapon fan. We talked about it earlier this show. I've never seen Loaded Weapon, so I'm excited to see a comedy take on one of my favorites. So we will see how that goes. That is going to do it for this episode. I said it was going to be a little on the shorter side because Comic Books and Craft Beer is coming in roughly 3 hours. Very excited about that. Live chat, positivity. Always positivity makes me so very happy. Seattle, apparently they filmed Songbird and they got in some trouble for some regulations being broken, but they did follow COVID guidelines. You'll notice there's not a lot of people in the same shot. A lot of times when you're filming on one side of the door or the other, you're gonna have a camera person, makeup and all that stuff, and then like it's gonna be under 10 people if you do it correctly. And I'm sure they broke that a couple times, I hear, but they were able to do guidelines. And comics people are excited about. Before I leave, Jesus, I have been liking Stillwater this Monday, going live on my Instagram, talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin and The Mandalorian Episode 1 of Season 2. Boy Named Sue 98 will be the handle. Tune in Monday. I'll be going live with my cousin. So any of you fine folks that enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I have not read Last Ronin, but the great Jesus Gastelum has. And if you want to hear what someone else has to say about The Mandalorian Episode 1, check out the handle Boy Named Sue 98 on Instagram. He's going to be talking about it on Monday. Thank you as ever, Jesus Gastelum. I hope you're enjoying your comic books. I know you're a weekly warrior actually making it to the comic book store, which I appreciate very much. It's a beautiful, not lost art, but it's a quiet art, the actual comic store itself. So keep on being one of us. That is going to be it for this episode, guys. I appreciate you very much. I will see you in 3 hours' time. Comic Books and Craft Beer Saga. We got an IPA and we got a stout. You guys know I'm not usually an IPA guy, but the can was too cool. Jenny's picking up some stuff. We will see you in a few hours. And yes, Brian, before we leave, don't forget Daylight Saving Time starts on Sunday. If we had a functioning government, then we would have Halloween this year, maybe, and we'd have an extra hour of sleep. But since we don't, and you just get to sleep, which is just like being awake because we're all fucking stuck inside. All right, I appreciate you guys. I will see you very soon, and I hopefully will see you tonight for much needed beer. All right. Talk soon. Bye.